Hello again, and for today I am going to be delving into the wider content creator controversies that have been going on, and some of these are a little bit of an old bag, some of these are quite an old bag, but this will always be relevant information to know if you want to be a content creator. For example, your favorite content creator, that isn't me, of course, totally had some kind of switch in not only their personality, but their output and the style of content that they have transformed into. And overall, I think there is a lot to be said about what happens when you get too big to fail as a content creator. And I've seen this time and time again, and usually what it means for me is when I see this, I unsubscribe and I wash my hands clean of the situation. But I know in the future there will be a controversy that will happen with this person, and it sucks, you know. It's because for some of you I know out there, you've invested all this time into this one content creator and they have completely let you down because they are not the way they used to be. And yeah, people change, but this is not a normal change. This is a change as a result of unexpected growth, in the channel that they run. This is a result of all this new attention that they may or may not be ready to handle. And I hope that if I do get to that kind of point, that I am 100% ready to embrace my audience with open arms, as I've tried to, even at the small level that I am right now. So let's delve into what I have seen. So usually there's a plateau moment for content creators, and this is very different for the political ones. I think their plateau generally happens around 100,000 subscribers, and for the larger content creators, that usually is at 1 million. I think, again, this is not a widely cited or measured study, but this is what I've just noticed based on observation. Once that happens, everything goes downhill. And this is when, the shift changes and the tempo of the channel changes. The output might get lower, the effort of quality might get lower. And again, this is why I have started at a complete bottom level for content, so that I can always go back to this if I need to. Like, if I cannot produce something in a very timely manner, but I want to talk about something, I can just do this. I can do this very simple format and get right to the heart of the issues. Now, there are 4 key characters in this that I think represent 4 different issues that result when this plateau happens and then everything starts sliding downhill. So I'm going to start getting into this so I can pontificate on a conclusion. So the first channel that I've noticed had this deep flaw is the H3H3 Productions channel, run by Ethan Klein and Hila Klein. And this isn't really directed at Hila as much as it is Ethan, although I do think she feeds into some of his delusions from time to time. What Ethan had done by 2016 has proven that he always had a massive ego. And when he soared to those atmospheric heights in 2017, I want to say, that's when shit really started hitting the fan. The thing all his fans like to cite is the H3H3 podcast that he started running around that time, and I would agree, primarily because the fun videos like Vape Nation and all that shit stopped being made. There wasn't delving into what's going on in the world like his takes on the Humongous event, which I think for that whole series he did the best job covering that content. And it was a very clear and concise channel at that time. And then he started thinking that he was Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan has the same problem of being this this voice of the world, but Ethan's ego is so poisonous. It's so toxic to what he does that it completely consumed the guy. And now you see him going full-blown retard when it comes to literally any subject. And it's because he is so disconnected from reality, because his ego is so heightened. You know, the guy's a millionaire off of Google AdSense or his t-shirts or charity drives or literally whatever his financial ventures are in relation to H3H3, and he still wants to cry about billionaires. It's like, bro, you're a millionaire now. You are in a new tax bracket all to yourself and quite a few people in the country, I will say, but you are no longer the guy from New York who made a stupid video about vape subculture. You are now a influencer and content creator, and your sense of self-worth is so overinflated that you are doing damage to yourself. So that is the ego portion of the problems of large content creators. The second one for me is persona, and I think this is where I start to talk about iDubbbz on this channel. I mean, for all of the great content cops, for all of the great Kickstarter reviews, for all the great stuff that Ian created, to him it was a game. It was a persona. It was a character to play on a stage. And it is shown that he didn't really care about the things he was saying. And so when you go from calling girls online whores, you're a whore, to then becoming a simp and a cuck for this literal e-girl, your self-awareness is completely out the window, because to you didn't care in the first place. And if you don't care about your channel, then why should I, as the viewer? If you don't care about what you say, then why should I give you the time of day? And Ian's failures have come as a result of that. And I think he's going to display it more and more, you know, because you can only hide behind low-effort content for so long before people bring up your personal problems, man. I mean, that was what this was. I mean, your girlfriend said, oh, having an OnlyFans is like a sign of help. And then she gets an OnlyFans. Bro, what are you doing with your life? You can do better. And maybe if you gave a shit, you could easily do better with that much effort. The snap of the fingers. Oh, God. Again, some of this shit is just ridiculous. So I'm going to get into something that people might find funny because of who this person is in relation to iDubbbz. But another thing I noticed is that there's a giant lack of passion once this plateau hits. And this couldn't be better represented than in iDubbbz clone himself, Chris Raygun. And Chris is a really big example of this, you know. This is a guy who is halfway to 1 million, maybe even further by today's metrics. And yet his passion to make videos is gone. And it's because he's neurotic. It's because he couldn't handle certain things in his life. But at the same time, he lost the ability to want to do stuff. And I had that experience slightly 2 weeks ago, but I got over it. I'm making low effort content right now that solely hinges on the points I make. And it makes me happy every time I do it. So I did the cost-benefit analysis and realized that the benefit outweighs the cost in this case. And if I was at Chris Raygun's level of doing stuff, I would be over the fucking moon. So to me, I find it to be incredibly weird that he is just not in it anymore the way he was, say, in 2016 or 2015. You know, this guy was always on the ball with whatever the new hot topic was and making the meme-worthy content. And yet now he is, again, just a shadow of his former self. And that little incident he had with Louis Laveau, one of my favorite content creators, really proved this to be true. And it was just awe-inspiring to watch Chris Ray Gun artfully dodge every single question Lewis had, other than like getting into his personal crap, which, to be fair, you wouldn't really know unless you were really paying attention to Chris Ray Gun. So what Chris really proved is that he's just not in it anymore the way he used to be, and he has a lot to work on before he can really reflect and be self-aware about his situation. And so that is that lack of passion point, and this will tie into the final point, which to me is lying about everything. And I think the best example, and it is quite current, is Hunter Abom. I mean, watch the spurgout that is going on with Hunter Abom right now in his complete conflict of identity with being a quote-unquote conservative or free thinker or centrist or whatever the fuck he is, because to me, he was always someone who parroted the talking points. It didn't matter what side he was on, but for most of his career on YouTube, it was Rush Limbaugh, fucking Bill O'Reilly bullshit that had no substance, had no value, was just the boomer take of the week. And because he went after fat people, he went after trannies, that's what gave him the career that he had. And I don't think he expected any of this to go as far as it did. But it clearly did. And he clearly did try to put the work in, at least in the beginning. But now, because he gets blown out in one debate with an internet communist, he just switches. I'm sorry, that is suspect behavior. That shows that you didn't believe in what you were espousing in the first place. And I think that's why I took forever to just make a channel in the first place, is because I was unsure of what I believed, and now I am way more confident in my beliefs. I believe in freedom, but freedom comes at a price, so we must have order before freedom. That is why I identify as a paleo-libertarian. It's because my ideal society does not match real society. Real society needs order in order to be cohesive, to have function. But in order to have a long-lasting society, I know freedom is the value that must be held at least as high as order. So that is why I have come to this paleo-libertarian worldview. And, you know, Hunter Abom does not have the courage of his convictions that, say, Nicholas J. Fuentes does. And I think that's what makes him really mad about Nick, is that Nick is strong in his beliefs, and Hunter is about as weak as a spaghetti noodle that has been boiled in his beliefs. So it really just goes to show the values and the moral sets that Hunter has in relation to someone who is a strong person, who does believe in things, who doesn't just bow down to the talking points, who questions why people are saying what they are saying. And this is what's going to lift people up higher, or at least make their careers last longer. I think this is why PewDiePie, even though he's had his flaws, usually comes out on top. It is because he knows when he's making a mistake, and he also knows when to just not say anything. I think this is why John Jafari was able to rebound after that atrocious debate with a slippery eel like Destiny. It's because Destiny made him look like the bad guy, and he just apologized to the people who were offended and said, I'm not going to do this anymore and focus on my career, and he's been doing better ever since. So, what do I have for a conclusion on this? Other than, just watch out who you follow is really, I think, all I really have to say is, be aware of who you follow and how they might end up falling down. I hope I don't have that falling down moment as my moment of self-awareness in this commentary. I hope that I can either rise above my problem, whatever that might be at the time, or that I can adapt and get better. Because that's what all this is about, why I'm doing this low effort content, is so that one day I can be able to perfectly articulate some high quality content that will be, not just me talking into my phone with a fucking static image on the screen. I think that we need to question what we watch at all times. This is what is required for good media training, is to make sure that what you're absorbing either A, is of quality and you understand why, or B, why it isn't quality. That's why people love bad movies, as I've said many times on this channel, is that they love to make fun of what was done wrong. It's not a schadenfreude thing. It's more of a, oh, I get why this is bad and therefore it's funny now. So, again, I would say just watch out for what you watch, and content creators that may show these kinds of signs when they reach a certain level of success. So that's going to start to wrap it up for this video. I think I've made all of my points, but then again, who fucking knows? iDubbbz could totally heel turn and be like, oh, fuck you, Anita, or Nisa. Fuck you, you stupid bitch. We're through. You have used me for the last time. And then Ethan would just spiral into, oh, wow, my ego's out of control. I need to go see a therapist. And, Chris Raygun's like, wow, my content isn't as good as it used to be. I'm going to go watch my old content and understand why it was good. And for Hunter, I would say the only salvation he really has is that I'm going to get out of politics because I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. So that's going to be it for the video itself proper now. There's no way to recover from this unless you're willing to do the work as the large content creator and understand that, maybe part of your success is because you weren't a perfect person, and you should be okay with that. You should be okay because it's brought you to these meteoric heights. And so all I have to say beyond that is to the content creators that don't want to learn from their mistakes, well, you better tread lightly because your career will be put on the altar as a sacrifice.